My husband and I were celebrating our anniversary at a lavish restaurant. I stepped away to the ladies' room, and suddenly a woman approached me. Don't drink the wine. Your husband put something in it. I thought it was a silly prank, but I decided to switch glasses anyway. But 15 minutes later, and before we continue, please write from which country you are watching this video. Enjoy listening. Olga adjusted her midnight blue silk gown. Today was a momentous occasion, their 10th wedding anniversary with Igor. 10 years. An entire era, filled, she felt, with happiness and prosperity. They had chosen the city's most exclusive restaurant, offering panoramic views of the twinkling lights for their celebration. Igor, as always, was impeccably presented. An elegant suit, expensive cologne, a captivating smile. Yet something subtly had shifted in him lately. A certain cold detachment had settled in his eyes, as if he were no longer present, no longer with her. The restaurant buzzed with conversation, cutlery clinked, and soft, unobtrusive music played. The waiter brought over a bottle of their favorite wine. Igor nodded, and the waiter, skillfully wielding the corkscrew, opened it. After filling their glasses, he politely withdrew. To us, my love, Igor said, raising his glass. His voice sounded slightly strained, unnatural. Olga smiled back, clinking her glass against his. The wine was exquisite, as always, but something still unsettled her. A nagging unease, like a thin shard of ice, pierced her heart. She attributed it to fatigue, to the demanding pace of life. She ran her own consulting firm, which consumed a great deal of her energy and time. Igor was also a successful businessman, involved in investments. They appeared to be the perfect couple, attractive, wealthy, successful. But beneath that polished facade, Olga sensed something amiss. After a few toasts and several courses, Olga felt the need to freshen up. I'll be in the powder room, she told Igor, rising from the table. Igor nodded, his gaze fixed on his phone. This gesture, this inattention, pricked Olga. He used to always follow her with his eyes, hold her hand, show concern. Now he seemed a stranger. The ladies' room, adorned with marble and mirrors, was sparsely populated. Olga splashed cool water on her face, trying to quell a sudden wave of nausea. She looked at her reflection, a tired face, shadows beneath her eyes. I need more rest, she thought. As she prepared to leave, an unfamiliar woman approached her. She was dressed simply yet elegantly, and a hint of anxiety flickered in her eyes. Excuse me, the woman said softly, glancing around. I must warn you. Be careful with your husband. Olga froze, not understanding. What do you mean? She asked, a chill tracing its way down her spine. I saw him put something in your wine, the woman whispered. I don't know what it was, but it looked suspicious. Please be cautious. With that, the woman quickly exited the powder room, leaving Olga in a state of complete shock. She stood there, as if struck by lightning, trying to process what she had heard. What nonsense. Igor putting something in her wine? It was impossible. But then, why had the woman insisted so vehemently? Why was there so much genuine concern in her eyes? Olga returned to their table, a maelstrom of conflicting emotions churning within her. Igor remained engrossed in his phone. Their wine glasses sat on the table. She looked at them, and a sudden realization struck her. Is something wrong? Igor asked, finally looking up. No, everything's fine, Olga replied, attempting to sound as calm as possible. Just a slight headache. She sat down, trying to avoid Igor's gaze. She needed to buy time to figure out what was happening. She decided to feign ignorance and see what unfolded. I think I'll have a little more wine, she said, reaching for her glass. Igor smiled. A wise decision. Wine is the best remedy for all ailments. Olga pretended to reach for her glass, but at the last moment, imperceptibly to Igor, she swapped their glasses. She took his glass and placed hers in front of him. It was risky, but she had to confirm if the stranger was mistaken. They continued their evening, conversing about trivial matters. Olga observed Igor intently, trying not to miss a single detail. He appeared completely calm and relaxed, yet something in his demeanor betrayed his tension. He kept glancing at his watch too often, nervously fidgeting with his napkin. Suddenly, Igor paled. He clutched his head and groaned. "What's wrong?" Olga asked, alarmed. "I feel ill," Igor croaked. "Very ill." He began to slump sideways, losing consciousness. Olga sprang from her seat and called for help. Waiters rushed over immediately and called an ambulance. The ambulance arrived shortly thereafter. The paramedics quickly examined Igor and decided to rush him to the hospital. "What's wrong with him?" Olga asked the doctor. "It appears to be poisoning," the doctor replied. "He needs immediate hospitalization." A shiver ran down Olga's spine. Could it be true? Had Igor truly attempted to poison her? She was taken to the hospital with Igor. While the doctors fought for his life, Olga sat in the hallway, feeling utterly hollowed out. Her entire world had collapsed in an instant. The man she loved, the man she trusted, was a betrayer. Later, after Igor had been moved to the intensive care unit, an investigator approached Olga. "We need to ask you a few questions," he said. Olga recounted everything she knew: the stranger's strange warning, her suspicions, Igor's sudden deterioration. The investigator listened carefully and promised a thorough investigation. That night, sitting on an uncomfortable hospital chair, she couldn't sleep. Thoughts swirled in her mind. She recalled every moment of their shared life, and now they seemed false, staged. She felt deceived, betrayed, used. Suddenly, her phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello?" Olga answered. "It's Mark," she heard on the other end. "I'm Igor's former partner. I have something to tell you." Olga froze. Mark. She had heard of him but had never met him. "What do you want to talk about?" she asked. "About your husband," Mark replied, "and his shady dealings." Olga felt a spark of hope ignite within her. Perhaps Mark could help her understand what was happening, uncover the truth about Igor. "I'm willing to meet," she said. "When and where?" "Tomorrow at noon I'll call you," Mark replied. "Goodbye." Olga hung up, a sense of resolve forming in her heart. She would not be deceived any longer. She would uncover the truth, no matter the cost. She would avenge the betrayal, the lies, the ruined life. She would become strong. She would survive. Silence permeated the hospital, broken only by the quiet beeping of machines. Olga sat in an uncomfortable plastic chair, gripping the armrests. Her head buzzed like a disturbed beehive. 10 years. 10 years she had believed, loved, built, and it had all been a lie. "A potent sedative has been detected in your husband's blood," the doctor reported. "A substance prohibited from free circulation. The dosage exceeds therapeutic levels multiple times. His condition is stable, but the consequences could be unpredictable. We need to ascertain how this substance entered his system." Olga nodded, her insides turning to stone. She already knew the answer, but she couldn't voice it. Betrayal, like an icy knife, plunged straight into her heart. Returning home, she felt out of sorts. The apartment, which only yesterday had seemed cozy and safe, now felt oppressive, its walls saturated with lies and deception. She mechanically approached the wine cabinet, where the partially opened bottle from their anniversary before heading to the restaurant still stood. Her throat felt parched. Suddenly, the phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Olga," a hoarse male voice said into the receiver. "It's Mark. We agreed to meet." Mark's voice jolted her back to reality. She remembered his offer to reveal the truth about Igor. Now more than ever, she needed that truth. "Yes, Mark," she replied, her voice attempting to remain steady. "I remember. Where can we meet?" "I'll send you the address, but be careful. Igor is a dangerous man." The meeting was arranged at a small cafe on the outskirts of town. Mark turned out to be a middle-aged man with a piercing gaze and a weary face. He got straight to the point. "Igor is drowning in debt," he began, lowering his voice. "He gambled on the stock market and lost everything. Creditors are breathing down his neck. His only way to pay them off is to seize your assets." Olga listened, holding her breath. A horrific picture was beginning to form. "He planned to have you declared legally incompetent," Mark continued. "I have information that he's already gathered the necessary documents and bribed doctors." Olga felt the world around her crumble. Legally incompetent. He wanted to strip her of everything: her freedom, her dignity, her future. He had forged documents prepared. Mark took several photographs of documents from his briefcase. Here, look. This is a medical report from doctors stating you have progressive dementia. It's all a lie. Olga's hands trembled as she took the photographs. Unfamiliar words stared back at her, describing her as ill and helpless. Rage and despair warred within her. How could he? She whispered, nausea rising. He thought you wouldn't suspect anything, Mark replied. He's a skilled manipulator. He knows how to gain trust. Mark spoke of shell companies through which Igor laundered money, of his connections to unsavory individuals. He provided her with copies of documents corroborating his claims. Why are you helping me? Olga asked, looking at him with suspicion. Igor betrayed me, Mark replied. He stole my business and left me with nothing. I want him to face the consequences of his actions, and I don't want you to be his next victim. After meeting with Mark, Olga went to see a lawyer. She told him everything she had learned from Mark and showed him the photographs of the documents. The lawyer, after listening attentively, confirmed her worst fears. The documents to have you declared legally incompetent have indeed been prepared, he said. Furthermore, Igor has already initiated proceedings to gain guardianship over you. He stands a good chance of winning the case if you don't take action. Olga felt the ground give way beneath her. She was trapped in a snare set by the person closest to her. What should I do? She asked, feeling utterly helpless. We need to act quickly, the lawyer replied. We must gather evidence of his fraud and file a counterclaim, and of course, report him to the police. Just then, there was a knock on the office door. The lawyer apologized and went to see who it was. A few minutes later, he returned with a concerned expression. You have a visitor, he said. She claims to have important information for you. Svetlana entered the office, the same woman who had warned her at the restaurant. Olga recognized her immediately. I know you didn't believe me at first, Svetlana began, but I had to warn you. I work as a waitress at that restaurant. I saw your husband put something in your glass. I don't know what it was, but it seemed suspicious. Olga stared at Svetlana, disbelieving. Another confirmation of betrayal. Another stab in the back. Why did you tell me? She asked. I couldn't stay silent, Svetlana replied. I saw how he looked at you. There was no love in his eyes, only calculation. I couldn't let anything happen to you. Svetlana agreed to testify to the police. Her words were significant proof of Igor's guilt. Olga felt strength stirring within her. Despair was gradually giving way to determination. She was no longer a victim. She was a warrior, ready to fight for her freedom and justice. She would file a police report and divorce Igor. She would reclaim her life. She left the lawyer's office, her head held high. A difficult battle lay ahead, but she was ready for it. She was no longer afraid. She knew the truth was on her side, and she would achieve justice. The investigation was in full swing. Olga, mustering the last of her resolve, appeared at the police station. Investigator Rogova, a woman with a keen intellect and a no-nonsense demeanor, met her in her office, which was piled high with folders and documents. Olga Viktorovna, please have a seat, Rogova offered, gesturing to a chair. Thank you for coming. Your cooperation is crucial. Olga sat down, her knees trembling. She tried to remain composed, not betraying her inner turmoil. I'm ready to tell you everything I know, she said in a firm voice. Rogova listened intently, without interruption, as Olga recounted the events of the past few days, from the anniversary celebration to Mark's and Svetlana's revelations. She detailed her suspicions, the glass swap, and Igor's subsequent deterioration. We have grounds to believe that Igor Vladimirovich planned to commit a crime against you, Rogova stated once Olga finished. We have already seized the medical documents provided by Mark and begun investigating his financial transactions. Will Igor be arrested? Olga asked quietly, her voice tinged with a mixture of hope and anxiety. If the collected evidence is sufficient, we will immediately issue an arrest warrant, Rogova replied, but we need your help. You must file for divorce and provide us with all the necessary documents confirming your property rights. This will help us prevent any attempts by Igor to claim your assets." Olga nodded in agreement. She understood this was necessary. Divorce was not only a way to sever ties with a betrayer, but also an opportunity to protect herself and her future. That same day, Olga visited her lawyer and filed for divorce. The process had begun. She felt depleted, yet simultaneously filled with the determination to fight for her freedom. Meanwhile, Mark, Igor's former partner, fulfilled his promise. He handed over incriminating documents to investigators, exposing Igor's financial fraud and document forgery. Among the papers were copies of bank transfers to shell companies, falsified medical certificates, and even drafts of the petition to declare Olga legally incompetent. "I've waited a long time for this moment," Mark admitted to investigator Rogova during his interrogation. "Igor destroyed my business and my life. I'm glad I can help Olga achieve justice." The restaurant's surveillance cameras fortunately captured the moment Igor tampered with Olga's drink. This recording became another crucial piece of evidence in the case against him. The following day, Igor was arrested. He was charged with attempted murder, fraud, and document forgery. The news of Igor's arrest quickly spread through the city's business circles. Many were shocked, but most were not surprised. Rumors of his shady dealings had been circulating for a long time. Olga learned of Igor's arrest from Rogova. The investigator called her to deliver the news and thank her for her cooperation. "Olga Viktorovna, I can congratulate you. Igor Vladimirovich has been arrested. He's currently in a detention facility. We are continuing our investigation, but we have sufficient evidence to bring him to justice." Olga felt a tremendous weight lift from her shoulders. She let out a sigh of relief. Justice had prevailed. After Igor's arrest, Olga felt liberated. She no longer felt fear, no longer felt like a victim. She was ready to start a new life. The divorce proceedings were complex and painful, but Olga endured all the difficulties with fortitude. She knew that truth and the law were on her side. Olga's lawyer, an experienced and competent professional, did everything possible to protect her interests. During the court proceedings, all the evidence of Igor's guilt was presented. Medical reports, witness testimonies, surveillance footage, and financial documents. The court found Igor guilty on all charges. He was handed down a severe sentence. Olga obtained her divorce and reclaimed all her property. She was free. Several months after the divorce, Olga decided to change her life. She sold their shared apartment, which now served as a painful reminder of betrayal and deceit. She bought a small, cozy house in the countryside, where she could enjoy peace and quiet. She resumed her beloved hobby of painting. She began attending art classes and soon was creating beautiful paintings. Painting helped her express her emotions and experiences. She felt her soul healing. Olga started traveling. She visited numerous countries, saw new cities, and met interesting people. Her travels broadened her horizons and helped her leave the past behind. One day, sitting in a small cafe overlooking the city, Olga reflected on her life. She realized she had endured a difficult period, but it had only made her stronger. She had learned to trust her intuition, value herself, and fight for her freedom. She no longer celebrated her wedding anniversary. Instead, she marked the day she began a new chapter in her life, the day she broke free from a toxic relationship and became a happy and independent woman. She gazed at the city spread out before her, feeling like the mistress of her own destiny. She smiled. A new life, full of possibilities and adventures, awaited her. Olga took out her phone and dialed Svetlana's number. "Svetlana, it's Olga. I wanted to thank you again for what you did for me. You saved my life." "You're welcome, Olga," Svetlana replied. "I just couldn't stand by and do nothing. I'm glad everything is working out for you." "I'm very glad too. Perhaps we could have coffee sometime?" "With pleasure," Svetlana agreed. Olga hung up and smiled. She knew that many good things lay ahead. She was full of hope and plans. She stood up from the table and headed towards the cafe exit. She walked with a confident stride, her head held high. She was free.